Jerry, can't you see what's happening? Whenever you flirt or cheat on your new wife, something bad happens to you. Of course, I didn't think the universe had punished him enough, I thought. Now it was my turn to do it. When we landed, my new husband was puppy-faced, smelly, and had a burning hot crotch. Now it's time to reveal my big secret, because he always made me feel so bad. I vowed to teach Jerry a lesson on our honeymoon, so I hired an actress named Samantha. She and others were watching us on our honeymoon, and they had one job. I hired them to scare the living crap out of my new husband. I wanted revenge. I was already suffering in this marriage, and I wanted him to suffer too. Sure, I wanted to call it off many times, but after everything that Jerry did, I decided to go through with my plan. I texted Samantha. I told her that we were just about to land, and that I hoped that everything was ready for Jerry. That was the last message I got to send on my phone, because that's when the big storm started. Whatever happened that night, there was no way for Jerry to escape. Mr. Smith, the old owner of the bed and breakfast, met us on the docks and drove us to the inn. It was already raining. Jerry thought everything was romantic and charming. Then he found a book called The Smith Inn. He read the first few lines and realized that he had checked into a haunted place. Did you know about this? He asked with his eyes widening in fear. I pretended to be shocked and scared. This building wasn't built as an inn. It used to be an orphanage, Jerry said with a squeal that wasn't macho at all. They closed it down because they were using the children for experiments a few decades ago, and then they turned it into an inn that's rated to be the most haunted place in the world. I wanted to laugh at Jerry's face, but I had to keep my cool. I reminded myself to give Samantha a big bonus for planting that book. It was absolute genius. I tried to reassure Jerry that everything was going to be just wonderful on our honeymoon. And Mr. Smith called us for dinner. He served us their house specialty. It was black blood steak with some aphrodisiacs thrown in. We call it our love soup, he said before he left us for our meal. Jerry was looking cautiously at his food. In truth, it looked gross, but it was delicious. Whatever was in there, I was sure that it was all edible. This was just all a part of the plan. Jerry was about to take a bite when a strange, but beautiful woman came in. Good evening, she said. I hope you are having a good time. Jerry's eyes lit up. He smiled his killer smile at the woman and asked if she knew about this place. Yes, the woman replied. I am Margaret Smith. I am the caretaker's wife. I could see the confusion on Jerry's face. The caretaker was this really old man. How could he have a wife as young and beautiful as her? Then he started flirting again. He even asked her about the book. Oh, I'm sure a big, strong man like you won't be scared by a bunch of horror stories, she added with a seductive laugh. All those things happened a long time ago. Of course, Jerry had to prove that he wasn't scared. So he laughed too, but I could see that he was getting a little scared. For once, I didn't even mind his flirting, because that night, all of Jerry's fears came to life. When it was time for bed, I pretended to be very tired and sleepy. In truth, I was waiting for the show to continue. Jerry was very tired, and he fell asleep at once. Then he started tossing and turning. He started moaning in his sleep. I gently woke him up. Jerry's eyes flew open. He was covered with sweat, and he was shaking. He told me that he had the most terrifying dream about this place. I dreamt that terrible things were going to happen tonight, he said with dread. I pretended to be concerned. I bet it was that stew that gave him bad dreams. It was another bonus point for Samantha and her team. Jerry was sitting up in bed, too freaked out to go back to sleep. Then we heard footsteps coming from the hallway. We heard sounds of children, and they were talking and giggling. But soon, their laughter turned to screams. Jerry started to shiver with fear. He snuggled closer to me. After a while, it became very quiet, and I whispered, I have to pee. I really did. I asked him to come with me. The bathroom was just across the hall. Jerry opened the door cautiously and went out first. The coast is clear, he said. I stuffed my fist in my mouth, trying to stop the giggles from escaping. I was still in the bathroom when we started to hear the sounds of chains dragging on the floor. Jerry began to pound on the door. Let me in, he cried, but I told him that I wasn't done yet. Open the door, Cassie, he cried again. This time I could hear real fear in his voice. This was the moment I was waiting for. I told him that I would open the door if he admitted that he had a problem. He was a terrible flirt and a terrible husband. The sound of chains was getting louder. I heard Jerry run back to our room. Oh no, he said. Our room is locked. Please, Cassie, if you really love me, open the door. Suddenly, I felt guilty again. Wasn't it enough that Jerry had gotten so much bad blood so far? My reached the stairs, a child appeared in the hallway behind us. "Help me," she said. Jerry couldn't contain his fear anymore. He squealed like a girl and practically flew down the stairs, dragging me with him. We were panting when we burst in the kitchen, and Margaret was there. "There's something scary up there," Jerry shrieked. He looked like a terrified little boy. "Oh, don't be silly," she said with another laugh. "Would you like a midnight snack?" She turned around to make a sandwich, and we saw that there was something on the back of her blouse. Jerry walked closer to Margaret, as if to wipe it off. Then he gasped. It wasn't dirt or mud on Margaret's blouse. It was fresh, red blood, and there was a short, silver handle poking out of it. When she turned around again, Jerry roughly pulled me behind him. What happened to you? What's going on here?" he asked angrily. Margaret smiled sweetly at him, and she looked directly at me. In her hand, she was holding a bread knife. "I sense that you are unhappy, Cassie," she whispered. "Aren't you on your honeymoon?" Jerry pulled me closer to him. "Don't you dare come near her," he told the beautiful and sinister face of Margaret. Meanwhile, I wanted to clap my hands. This actress was really extraordinarily good. Then I started to talk to Margaret. I told her that I felt bad that my new husband was a big flirt. I said that it hurt me because Jerry didn't even seem to respect me at all. I started to cry. I was acting here. "I'm over here, girl," she replied. "I'm sure your husband can explain himself." Jerry turned his full attention on me. "Do you love me, Cassie?" he said with a shocked look. "Of course I do," I cried. "I wouldn't have married you if I didn't." Then Jerry's whole face changed. At first there was shock, then disbelief. Then he looked absolutely relieved. "I love you more than anything in the world," he said very softly. "I thought you were just with me because your parents forced you to. That's why I flirted. I wanted to make you jealous. It hurt me so much to think that I was marrying a girl who didn't love me." Jerry cupped my face in his hands and seemed to have forgotten that there was a strange woman in the room who he obviously thought was a ghost. "I fell in love with you the first time I met you," he added. "I promised to be a better person. I promised to stop flirting. You were the most important person in my life." So in the kitchen of that haunted bed and breakfast with a highly skilled actress acting like a ghost, I finally understood my husband. We both cried and we danced. It was the most beautiful moment of my life. "I'm so glad we got that straightened out," Margaret said with a smile. "True love is an amazing thing." "Please, Cassie," Jerry whispered on the way back to our room. "Can we start over?" I nodded. Jerry didn't get any more bad luck that night. And if there were any more strange noises, we were oblivious to anything else except each other. The next day I woke up with a song in my heart. Jerry begged me to go to another hotel. Of course, I agreed. We packed our bags and met Mr. Smith by the front door. Jerry wanted to leave right away, but I made him stay for a while to say thank you. We had a lovely time, I said sincerely. Mr. Smith agreed. Mr. Smith smiled, and Jerry noticed something we didn't see earlier. It was a painting of a beautiful woman near the front door. "Who is that?" he gasped. Mr. Smith chuckled. "That's Margaret, my wife of 60 years, he replied. "Isn't she beautiful? She passed away years ago." And he said something really creepy. "It was a crime of passion," he added awfully. "She was a terrible flirt. When I confronted her, she said that she wanted a divorce, and I couldn't let her do that. They sent me to prison for 25 years. I hope she's forgiven me for what I did." Jerry's eyes got bigger than I had ever seen before. He practically dragged me out of the place. But secretly, I was very impressed with Samantha and her team of actors. They really found a way to scare Jerry. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Mr. Smith was in on it all along. While my husband was busy checking us into the airport, I called Samantha. "Bravo," I said. "It was a great show you had last night, and it worked." But Samantha had her own surprise for me. I found out that they never really made it to the island. Because of the storm, they couldn't make it at all. She had been trying to call me all night to say they had to call it off, but she couldn't reach me on my phone. I felt goosebumps on the back of my neck. I snuggled closer to Jerry when we got to the plane. He kissed the top of my head and told me not to worry. The nightmare was over. The bad luck was over too. The past few days have been terrible for our marriage, but it was going to change. We were off to a real honeymoon, and this time he was going to make sure that our marriage was going to be a great one. I looked at him. Despite everything that had happened so far, I realized that I was wrong to doubt or hate my husband. His feelings for me were real and true. I sighed happily and snuggled even closer. I realized that I married him for love after all. Do you know that the most insidious enemy is rats? To clarify, exes are people with whom you spend a certain period of your life. People who know your secrets, family, character, all this during the period of your relationship. There are those who saw two sides of you, the best and the worst, the best and the worst, but they didn't come to terms with the latter. These are enemies who are armed to the teeth with information about you, who you are friends with, how much sugar you put in your tea, how many hours you sleep, and in what position. So, my ex and I had a war that I won. My name is Catherine. My ex-boyfriend is Danny. We dated for a little over a year. I know this is not a small amount. We could have gotten married during this period, but we were too young. I will not hide that he was my first love. Our relationship was serious. Do you know what happens when your whole world comes together in one person? That's what I had with Dan. We met in the subway. I didn't have enough money for the fare, and he politely paid. So our communication began. After I got to the right stop, he came out with me and saw me home, and only then confessed that he had to get out 6 more stops back. I couldn't leave without taking your phone number, he said. I remembered now. It seemed very nice. The next day, we had our first date. Dad invited me to a coffee shop, where I tasted the most delicious milkshake of my life, and then a romantic relationship came like a fairy tale. A beautiful courtship, walking late, first kiss, and then we started fighting. Often, a lot, and about everything. All the features of my face and character that I thought were cute were now repulsive. He no longer texted, called before going to bed, or appeared at all. Well, then I found out the reason for all this. He cheated on me with my friend. It happened by accident. A week before, I went shopping with this girl. We spent a long time choosing a purse for her dress for a party and on her food wrong. Yes, all the details were important to her. When I saw a beautiful bag from my purse on the counter, I realized that this is what we were looking for. She also approved of the choice. Well then, when we were hanging out at that girl's house at that party with Danny, I went away for a little while. When I came back, I saw her purse in the hall. It was lying on the sofa, unattended. And where is the mistress? The question arose. No girl forgets her purse for nothing. Unless... The thought made me shudder, and I felt my heart beat quickly as I ran upstairs to her bedroom, my hands already shaking. I understood where they were and what they were doing, but I didn't want to believe it. The minute I approached the bedroom was endless. And, yes, they had sex right in front of me. Of course, these two didn't see me. They were too self-absorbed. I imagined myself going in the ditch, ripping out all her hair, eating Dan by the hole, or grabbing a knife and yelling at them. But it was all just fantasy. I quickly came to my senses and closed the door, pretending that I hadn't seen or heard anything. Then I came up with an idea that was much more insidious. I went quietly into the bathroom, plugged the drain, turned on the water everywhere, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, and left. The next day, I was told that it turned out to be a bad day. The neighbors below were inundated, and it took a long time for these assholes to figure out what was going on. And Dan didn't even call me that night, probably running around with a floor bag in his hands. And I pretended I didn't know anything. The bitch's parents didn't have their daughter on the head either. First, they found out there was a party, and that flooded the neighbors. But I had a special dish prepared for Dan. You have no idea how much I enjoyed this whole situation. Of course, it was unpleasant and very painful, but I was so invested in my revenge that I was distracted and did not even cry, although the whole year was spent in this goat. He called me a day later. I pretended that yesterday it became very bad and I quickly went home. Then I offered to meet him. I went to his house as if nothing had happened, just as his parents were not at home. Dan's lactose intolerant, so I prepared his favorite pizza in advance and treated him to it. He's used to me making lactose-free food just for him. He had a good lunch and sat down to watch a show. I snuck into his room, took out his favorite autographed football crosses, threw them in a bucket of bleach, moved a money stash hidden in books to his parents' bedroom in a conspicuous place, and I damaged the game console in somehow fell from the top shelf into a bucket of bleach, in which his mother soaked some old things, and all the paint came off, including the autograph. His stash was found by his mother, and she took it for herself. And in the evening, his father wanted to play the console, and it exploded. Dan was lying on a bed in the ward, all green, weak, with circles under his eyes. He told me all this and was so upset that I felt sorry for him for a minute. At that moment, he needed me more than anyone else. Dan held my hand and thanked me for being with him. I wanted to let go of the situation, but then I remembered that scene again, when they were both enjoying each other. He didn't think of me at the time. I was angry again. I looked at him and said, I wanted to tell you for a long time, but I didn't know how. Poor Dad molested me. He said if I let it out, he'd kill me. I'm sorry, but I can't stay silent, I said, and I cried all over the hospital. You should have seen the look on his face. He wasn't just taken aback, he was totally freaked out. I knew that he doted on his father, because he was his own, and his mother was his stepmother. And not so long ago in their family, there was a discord, just because of the fact that his dad went off on the left with a girl younger than him by 12 years. His wife forgave him and took him back, which I couldn't have done. He just hit a sore spot. When Dan found out about his father, it was a blow for him, because he idolized his father. I looked at the shocked guy and enjoyed it. When his father came into the room, I pretended to cry and ran away. Dan called me every day, but I didn't answer. And then I went to another city to live with my grandmother. Imagine what it was like at home, but I'm not a bit ashamed. I hit him where it hurt, that's all. Let him live with it for the rest of his life, as I do with the memory of his infidelity. For the rest of his life, as I do with the memory of his infidelity.
My story seems to be based on a fairy tale. Have you ever watched Cinderella? The story is similar, but it's more violent because of my stepmother. Minus twice as aggressive. I'll tell you how she bullied me for a long time. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel. There are many more interesting stories here. My name is Gloria. My mother died when I was very young, so I don't even remember her. My dad and I lived together until recently. He was doing well as a father. I didn't need anything. I went to school. We had a house and Dad's business chain of car washes. We had enough to live on. But one day, everything changed. One day I came home from school and my dad was busy in the kitchen preparing food. Only this time, there were more dishes. I knew from the amount of food on the table that 2 more people were coming. Naturally, I immediately asked who it was. My father became very nervous and then told me not to be angry or jealous. A good friend will come to us. Her name is Olivia. She's coming with her daughter. The girl is your age, so you will probably have fun together. I ask you very much, accept it well. It is important for me, said Father. To be honest, I was not happy to hear this news. Why was this Olivia coming to us? For what? We are already happy father-daughter. What else do we need? But it was only for my father's sake that I promised to behave. So the doorbell rang, and I opened it. 2 women in matching dresses, Olivia and Gloria, were standing in the doorway. The woman jumped on me and began to hug me, then shoved me into the hands of some gift and went into the house. Gloria looked at me and didn't even smile. That's when I realized that I don't like these girls at all. It was a long dinner. Dad greeted them both warmly. We sat down at the table and began to eat. My father tried to be funny and baited us with all sorts of jokes that weren't funny. Only Olivia laughed. Our parents were the only ones talking all night, and the tension between Gloria and me only grew. I didn't understand why she was treating me like I'd done something to her. Finally, the adults went outside to talk, and we stayed to clean the kitchen. We did everything in silence. Then Gloria asked my opinion on the parents' union. What? Union? I screamed as a plate fell out of my hands. Dad flew in at the sound of broken dishes and asked if everything was all right. Are you going to marry her? And you didn't tell me about it? Aren't you interested in my opinion? I admit that I was so mad that I didn't even realize it. My father tried to silence me and apologized 100 times to the guests. The 2 ladies got up and left, thanking them for their dinner. Before leaving, Olivia said that she had expected this reaction, father and left, promising to come back next time. My father and I had an unpleasant conversation. It turns out that for more than 6 months, he has been having an affair with this woman. She is divorced and has a daughter, Gloria, who, by the way, has also been in the know for a long time and is not at all against the union, as her father said. He scolded me for my behavior and asked me to accept his choice because he fell in love with this woman and wants to make her a marriage proposal. She doesn't need you. She's not your match. Don't forget, she's a single mother. I'm sure all she wants from you is money, I told my father. But the words of the angry teenager were not taken seriously. In short, the wedding took place. It was the worst day of my life, but I didn't know then that they were two flowers. Living together seemed like hell. First of all, I'm not used to having other people in the house besides my father and me and the housekeeper. Not only that, now in the morning, in the toilet there was a queue. So the fright Gloria managed to take a bath for 2 hours a day. 2 hours! What can I do for 2 hours in the bathroom? Wait for the body to swell from the water? Or does she hope that the dirt will soften itself and fall away? In addition, the house was now always busy with the home phone. Some people like to chat with their girlfriends while their father was away. Yes, I'm talking about Olivia. These ladies had their hair falling out, judging by the number, not only from the head. That's why I love them. Collected in the bathroom drain, could be used to weave a net to catch a whale. I'm already silent about the mess in the rooms. Their belongings were everywhere, even in the living room. The cleanest room was mine. The housekeeper didn't have time to clean it all up. Dad even had to raise her salary for the extra workload. But my father was happy, even though I didn't like these girls. I was willing to keep quiet for Dad's sake. What a pity. He deserves better. In order not to make things worse, I ate breakfast and lunch at school and ate dinner about 5 minutes before running to my room. I couldn't bear to look at Gloria's face, especially when Olivia called us sisters. One day my father went to another city on business for a few days. Olivia was emptying father's house, spending all day shopping with her girlfriends, and Gloria and I were at war. It all started with the fact that this creature, without my permission and knowledge, came into my room and rummaged in the closet. It turns out she was looking at my things. By the way, even my father did not allow himself to do this. Naturally, I yelled at her, word for word, and we were already on the edge. I couldn't stand it and pushed her with all my strength, and Gloria fell to the floor and skidded to a stop on her face. Her nose was badly scratched, and it was almost immediately rammed all over her face. She looked like Shrek. I couldn't stand it and laughed hysterically. I haven't had this much fun in a long time. Gloria looked in the mirror and screamed at the top of her lungs. At this moment, my stepmother rushed into the house with packages. She dropped everything from her hands at the sight of her daughter's broken nose. Olivia ran out with us and shouted, "What happened?" Before I could open my mouth, my sister beat me to it and told her mother that I was jealous of her beauty and broke her face by pushing her down the stairs. Such a blatant lie has left me speechless. Before I could even protest, Olivia, her eyes red with anger, grabbed me by the hair and led me to the kitchen, shouting that I didn't love her daughter in the first place just because she was prettier than me. Then Olivia grabbed a pair of scissors and cut them off for me. "This is so that you can never leave the house again because of your ugliness," she said. I was in shock. I fell to the floor and Olivia threw my own hair at me, ran to her own daughter. For the first time in so long, they managed to break me. I began to cry, unable to bear the insult. Because of Gloria's lies, Olivia disfigured my hair. I hated them even more. It turned out Gloria was taken aback as I was. considered the tallest girl. It's not just about the wide bone, as they say. My parents tell me that I had a great appetite. I ate absolutely everything in a row, but unfortunately, our family did not particularly like fruits or vegetables. More often, there was junk food on the table. In addition to meat, there were a lot of flour products and a lot of sweets. I was gaining more and more pounds, and it was getting harder to move. So, by the end of school, I weighed almost 90 kilos. Against the background of thin classmates, I began to feel depressed, although it was as long as I can remember. And then I could not even pick up a beautiful ball gown. I could only fit into a tracksuit, and even the teachers didn't tell me anything about the dress code at school because they saw how fat I was. This pity on the part of the adults only made me feel worse. The family only avoided this topic, but refused to eat healthy food. I dieted a million times and broke down, then gained twice as much as I lost. Because of complexes before the prom night, I began to eat even more and gained another 5 kilos. For this reason, I decided not to go there at all, because I thought too much about my figure. My academic performance was poor. I didn't have any friends, and I didn't play sports, so I didn't even count on the scholarship. 3 of the colleges have denied me admission due to objective reasons. Who needs a student with 0 achievements? My parents were willing to buy my education and pay for college, but I was ashamed of them and myself. I felt worthless. One day, sitting at the TV late at night, eating another batch of buns, I saw on TV a display of beautiful evening dresses, and suddenly realized that I don't have any dresses. I've had wide-leg trousers and t-shirts all my life. I stopped and looked at myself in the mirror. At that moment, I saw not only a fat body full of despair, but loneliness for the rest of my life. If I live at this pace, I will not only have no friends, but also love. I was suddenly afraid, and this fear grew with every spoonful of junk food. That night, I kept a notebook for myself, where I wrote down my plans, food plan, lifestyle, and goals. I literally scheduled everything by day of the week, so as to not allow myself to snap again. The next day, I signed up for a gym that was far from home. I specifically chose one to walk back and forth. The first day I met the coach,